I'll be the one that makes the whole fallacy of this church just be rotten and shred away. This is a crisis of belief systems, and it is a very excellent sign. Watch for other major belief systems, whether they are scientific, religious, financial. The infallibility of things is going to suddenly prove to be like a balloon that just got a water balloon that got popped. It couldn't hold it anymore. Do you understand? This is the nature of these times. Do not despair over these things. Recognize them from a higher state of consciousness. Operate always from a higher state of consciousness. We've been suggesting the exercise of creating a little park in your mind and putting a very large, elaborate pedestal in the middle of this park. And this park can be like the cross, if you want to, 4 points on it with something in the center. And you are to, in your mind, imagine that you drive around the park, skate around the park, walk around the park, and you are to put anything that you are wondering about on that pedestal in the park. Anything. Anything you think of. We don't want to say worries, because it's not good to worry, but something that perhaps you are concerned over, or but there's just something out there in the cosmos you want to know, or family member, or whatever you want. It's up to you. Put it on the pedestal in the park. Especially someone brought up earlier, the difference between discernment and judgment. Put it up there. People, the situations, and then in your mind, walk around the park at different times. And then remember, if you are getting too fixated on something, say, I need to walk around the park and look at this from a different perspective. It's a very simple exercise. But if you habitually do it, you will start to expand your multidimensional perspective. You will get out of your own little rut, and not only will you start looking what's on the pedestal, you may not see anything. It's the intention of moving around something from one place to another. It will shift your consciousness. Lots of times you think that if you do something, it's going to give you some immediate results. Sometimes it's just the doing and not the results that creates even larger results. And what we've been teaching you over the years is how to use more of the garden of the mind and to expand your consciousness so that you are excited about being alive, so that you recognize the brilliance that you chose to be here at this time. So, flowering of consciousness, let it happen. Let's start some questions here. Please ask us whatever you would like. Please speak loud and clear. We don't want to keep repeating that. And just state your first name and see if you can ask things that are of a non-personal nature, or if it's really personal, make it sound collective and trick us. Have fun. It's your session. We give you some rules which create what you will. You understand? All right. Let's go for it.
Please?
Yes.
This is Catherine.
Yes, Catherine.
I was thinking this morning about how we know that we're modulated by light. That's why we have the moon and the sun, and how it modulates light patterns that trigger things.
Yes, and can you tell over yesterday and today that you have been modulated by the effects of the light in this room?
Yes.
Again, you are in a greenhouse. There's no artificial light, correct?
Right.
There's a huge fog outside, yes?
Yes.
And didn't you all notice through the exercises when you opened your eyes and closed your eyes that every time you did that there was a big shift in this room?
Yes.
Well, go ahead anyways, but we are saying this is an example of how in this situation you have modulated your consciousness in some way. Go ahead, Catherine.
Well, I was driving and coming upon the vista of the ocean, which is quite familiar to me, and those of us, well, there's a lot of love in the room for where the water meets the land. Real sincere love, and it overcomes me many times. And it made me begin to wonder, how are we modulated by land and where the land meets the water, because this is where people are attracted to around the world.
Well, we spoke of it yesterday in terms of coastal regions, that there is a lot of energy, of course, on the coast because of the meeting of the elements, the continual meeting of the elements. This would be all over the globe. That's why people are drawn to the coastal regions, because there's more energy, do you understand? There's a dynamic going on. There's a different dynamic.
Are we coded inside in the way that we are coded to respond to light, in that way when we live with the elements like this, in terms of our design?
In terms of what design in particular?
Well, are we...
you mean as biological beings?
Yes, and as a spirit in a body to experience it that way. I mean, is there something within us that just naturally responds to these things universally? And is it meaningful like light and dark is to us?
Yes, it has its own meaning, but it's not of dire significance.
Okay.
Light and dark has a deeper effect on consciousness, where the elements, you tend to incarnate or migrate to the areas that satisfy your particular desire of experiencing elements. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if you want the desert and you aren't born there, you move there. In this lifetime you can do so. Who has a question, please?
Peace.
Yes.
Hello, greetings, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
I'm interested in, I read a passage in your teachings that oxygenation, increasing oxygen, light, and intention help connect the 12 energy centers for healing, as well as connecting to the 12 strands of DNA. I've been working with use of oxygen and color and light more in intention,
Yes.
and find it very powerful. I would like to hear more specifically how one applies those principles or those tools.
Let's say this. The more that you have protocols and exact ways of doing things, the more exact you become and the less you know, the less creative you are. Sometimes we give you direct instructions. We'll say, all right, consider doing this, or put this together this way. And other times we have been purposely sort of giving you the ingredients, saying, all right, you're going to bake some cookies, here's some butter and sugar and vanilla and eggs and a few other accoutrements. Bake it. Versus half a cup of butter, 3/4 cup of sugar, etc. Do you understand? The components of light, breath, what was the other?
Intention.
Color, attention, color, sound you can put in there, can have different expressions through different people. They are, in certain terms, just like Catherine was asking a moment ago about the elements, and the elements that you are drawn to experience or feel more empowered by. Some people are really taken with fire, do you understand? So say that you were a water element person and you were using these various components we are speaking of for healing. They have so much room within them to fit with your creativity. They really are like a palette of colors that you can then paint to suit your unique desires of helping people heal. Because what helps people heal is they're willing to heal, number one, and to have someone else care enough to help facilitate and stimulate and reactivate the body. From our point of view, on the individual level, we have suggested that all healing is taking another look or reinterpreting traumatic or wounded events. Healing wounds come from traumas, this lifetime, other lifetimes, etc. It all happens on the emotional level first. Remember that. Any of you who are dealing with people who are ill, what you are seeing is the out picturing of the inner. All right? It manifests eventually in the body because the inner is either so buried, or the person has never forgiven themselves and made themselves okay for what's going on.